This is Indian Country Today.
Esquili, thank you for joining us. I'm Patty Thalahungva. Here are the headlines for Monday, December 14th. The Navajo Nation is receiving its first doses of Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine. According to the Navajo Times, the nation expects to receive 3,900 doses to arrive today and tomorrow. Doses will be given to healthcare workers and those in long-term assisted living facilities. The vaccines will be then sent to locations that are able to store them at minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit. More than 19,000 Navajos have had COVID-19, according to the Navajo Department of Health. The nation is currently coming off of a 57-hour weekend lockdown. Tribal leaders from the Dakotas are meeting virtually with Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, Oglala Sioux Tribe, and the Spirit Lake Tribe will be in attendance. The Black Hills Center for American Indian Health and the organization Missouri Breaks Industries Research, Inc. will also meet with Fauci. Missouri Breaks director Marsha O'Leary says that it's crucially important for Native communities to be heard, have a voice, and be a part of the solution. O'Leary also says the tribes and organizations have submitted dozens of questions to Fauci in advance. After 105 years, Cleveland's professional baseball team is announcing a name change. The New York Times reports the team is moving away from a name considered racist for decades. The team has been discussing a potential name change for months. One team spokesman told the Associated Press the franchise has no immediate comment on the report, but the Times report says the team could make a formal announcement later this week. It's not known when the name change will take effect or if the team has settled on a new name. Cleveland's move follows a similar decision earlier this year by the NFL's Washington football team. In a typical presidential election year, not much attention is paid to the Electoral College when they cast their votes. This is not a typical presidential election year, so today all eyes are on the 538 people who are casting their ballots. By law, the electors are supposed to vote the way their state did, and that almost always happens. But every once in a while, a person acts as a faithless elector. In 2016, Robert Satayakam, a citizen of the Puyallup tribe in Washington, broke his pledge and did not vote for Hillary Clinton. But that act is rare. Biden's victory was essentially locked in by last Tuesday's so-called safe harbor deadline, where votes could be challenged at the state level. The next step is for Congress to count the ballots from each state and make Joe Biden the country's 46th president. New national Australian accreditation standards are being set to boost Indigenous knowledge in psychology education. The aim is set to increase the number of Indigenous psychology students and create a more culturally aware and responsive mental health workforce. The standards are a result of a research project led by the University of Western Australia. It requires Indigenous knowledge to be included in all levels of psychology, education, and training. Now, in its second phase, the team led by UWA's School of Indigenous Studies moves to implementation. It's endorsed by the Australian Psychology Accreditation Council. The updated curriculum will soon be applied across Australia. The Papikassis Cree Nation in Saskatchewan is set to vote on a $150 million federal settlement. The agreement reached with the Government of Canada stems from a loss of land in the early 1900s. Chief Frank Dieter says the community needs 580 or more votes in favor to ratify the agreement. Chief Dieter also says that if citizens vote against the agreement, the band will not be able to renegotiate with Canada. The settlement offer includes the creation of a community trust for the management of the fund, and it also allows the Papikassis Cree Nation to obtain additional land. Commercial DNA testing is popular and growing at a steady pace, but what do the results really tell you? The Genetic Literacy Project says ancestry kits fall short on accuracy because they only offer a probability toward a certain ancestry. So a test that claims an individual has Native American ancestry could be wrong, and most tribes don't accept the results from these tests as proof to enroll people. Additionally, there is no regulatory body to oversee the methods used in the DNA kits. Companies have no incentive to create a set of standards to help the public understand the results. And those are the headlines from Indian Country Today for Monday, December 14th. I'm Patty Thalahungva. Coming up, what are the odds of having a Native person take over the Department of Interior? Sometimes context is everything. As President-elect Joe Biden debates his cabinet choices, Indian Country Today's Mark Trahant looks at the numbers.
The appointment of Representative Deb Haaland, or any tribal citizen, to a presidential cabinet would make history. Haaland, Laguna Pueblo, would be the first Native American to operate a cabinet-level agency. But there's another story, one told by the numbers. The first cabinet in George Washington's time had only 4 members: Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson, Secretary of Treasury Alexander Hamilton, Secretary of War Henry Knox, and Attorney General Edmund Randolph, all white, all large-scale property-owning men. That pattern was continued from 1789 until 1921, when the vice president was formally added to the cabinet. Then, Herbert Hoover's cabinet made history in 1929. It was still a group of men, but it also included Vice President Charles Curtis. Curtis was Kaw and the only tribal citizen to ever serve in a presidential cabinet. He did not run an agency, nor did he do much, according to the University of Virginia's Miller Center on the Presidential Scholarship. As Vice President, Curtis was rarely consulted and had a distant relationship with Hoover. Their union was one of political convenience and lingering hard feelings from their contentious battle for the 1928 nomination. Curtis attended a few cabinet meetings, but as a whole, he did not substantially affect policy during his tenure. Haaland would be the first Native American to serve in the cabinet as an agency head, running the Interior Department. There have been roughly 750 cabinet appointments from 45 presidents. And at the Interior Department, the agency responsible for the relationship between the government of the United States and tribal governments, there have been 53 secretaries. The math here is easy. 0 from 53 is still 0. There was at least one candidate for the Interior Department before Haaland. Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell's name was floated to George Bush. Campbell is Northern Cheyenne. As then Senator Wayne Allard, a Republican from Colorado, wrote, "As you know, his work in the Congress included time as chairman of Indian Affairs Committee, and he did extensive work on issues important to the West, such as water, forestry, public land management, and resource development." Bush picked Idaho Governor Dirk Kempthorne. And Representative Ben Rifle, a Republican from South Dakota and Lakota, in another era might have been considered. He took a lame duck appointment serving as Commissioner of Indian Affairs under Richard Nixon. Or even Brigadier General Eli Parker Seneca, who was also Commissioner of Indian Affairs. He had to resign his rank in the military in order to take the Indian Affairs post. Representative Haaland is earning lots of support on the internet and from tribes and from many environmental groups. But the decision rests with the president-elect, and it's one we should know soon. In Phoenix, I'm Mark Trahant.
They say it's been a battle since first contact. Citizens of the Shinnecock Nation say their economic pursuits continue to be stifled by the state of New York. Now the state is suing the Tribal Council of Trustees over an electronic billboard the tribe set up. Correspondent Carina Dominguez reports the trustees are appealing, claiming tribal sovereign immunity.
Ever since 1640, we've had tense relationships, to say the least, with the town of Southampton and the state of New York.
Centuries of tension led the group Warriors of the Sunrise to set up Sovereignty Camp 2020. Allies joined them to demand the state of New York drop its lawsuit against the Shinnecock Nation's electronic billboard. They ended the 26-day camp by donating 500 bags of food to Southampton community members the day before Thanksgiving, which they call the National Day of Mourning. Tribal members call the electronic billboard a monument because it's a testament to their sovereignty. Southampton Town Supervisor Jay Schneiderman opposed the monument at first.
My response to the billboards was that they were out of character, right? Our laws don't allow billboards. They don't allow illuminated signs. We have height restrictions on buildings. They don't conform to the long accepted standards, aesthetics of the town. I still feel that, but I respect their desire to help their people. That's, and we can disagree on these kinds of things. I think it's okay. We never joined the state's lawsuit. We are not taking any action to remove the billboard.
In the suit, the New York State Department of Transportation claims the monument poses a safety risk, but Talatroge, a member of Warriors of the Sunrise, says the state has other intentions.
I just feel that they don't want to give up control, and New York historically has been one of the worst offenders in terms of Indian land theft. And in our situation here with the Sunrise Highway, that was illegally taken from us in 1959. So a lot of people, think that all the land theft and everything happened early on. Like 1959 is like my parents' generation.
The state is trying to sue the Council of Trustees instead of the tribe.
The trustees didn't just go out there and build a sign. It was a tribe, but they're trying to disassociate the trustees from the tribe because they know that they'll lose with tribal sovereign immunity.
The Council of Trustees is moving forward with an appeal regarding their claim to tribal sovereign immunity and requested to stay the proceedings until there's a decision on the appeal.
It's very frustrating when all you're trying to do as a tribal leader and as a community is improve, the quality of life, and all you're getting from the state of New York is roadblock after roadblock and lip service, and then litigation. And they know how much we've had to spend over $400,000 on this lawsuit.
He says New York is conducting a war of attrition against the Shinnecock Nation, funneling away critical aid from the tribe where 60% live in poverty.
It's very vindictive, it's very punitive, it's mean-spirited and totally unnecessary, and they need to just, stop. Drop the lawsuit.
COVID-19 made conditions worse, but tribal members say it could help preserve some of their ancestral land. Since the start of the pandemic, people have fled the city to the Hamptons, and that has contributed nearly $72 million to the Community Preservation Fund. COVID-19 sent the housing market in Southampton through the roof.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, the property values through the years have gone up and up, but this was the biggest upward spike I've ever seen.
The Community Preservation Fund is financed through property taxes, and it's used to preserve land of historic, recreational, and environmental value.
Our next push is really going to be to make sure that the town of Southampton uses that money. They should be spending every single cent of that $72 million to protect, purchase, and preserve every acre of Shinnecock Hills before it gets completely destroyed.
The fund has helped the Shinnecock protect some of the graves of their ancestors, but they want more to be done. Many of their ancestors were laid to rest at Shinnecock Hills, which is also home to the world's most endangered sea turtles. Chairman Polite believes the state fears the tribe will generate more revenue and litigate for the land that was illegally taken from them.
We've been fighting these battles for the last 376, 77 years, and we'll continue to do that. We have a lot more resources now, though, so they better watch out.
He says tribal enterprise currently funds 30% of the nation's budget, when in the past 95% came from federal grants. They plan on expanding their business ventures to include a casino, medicinal marijuana, and a second monument. In New York, Carina Dominguez, Indian Country Today.
We'll be right back with a look at the rocky ride it's been for the 2020 Miss Indian Rodeo, Orianna Lopez. Each year in October, the Indian National Finals Rodeo is held in Las Vegas, except this year. The pandemic has forced so many events to go online or just cancel, and in this case, it also affected the reigning 2020 Miss Indian Rodeo, Orianna Lopez. In 2019, she traveled to Vegas to compete for the title. It was a week of writing essays, personal interviews, a photo shoot, a traditional presentation, and of course, demonstrating horsemanship. Oriana joins us today to tell us about how the pandemic threw her rein and her horse an unexpected wall to jump over. Welcome, Oriana.
Welcome. Hi, everybody. It's nice seeing you today.
Well, thank you for joining us. How busy were you in doing your events as the reigning Miss Rodeo before the pandemic hit?
It was very consistent, going to events probably like every other week, I would say. But since the pandemic occurred, we have kind of been at a halt. But I recently just got back from Arlington, Texas from the NFR. So that was an event.
So you were taking on your duties seriously, to go out and meet people. So tell us a little bit about some of those events that you went to, because you talk to students and you meet a lot of people out there, and you represent not just American rodeo, but you also represent Canadian rodeo.
Yes. So I got the title in October, and since then we've been going to local rodeos and events. We went to a rodeo in Fort McDowell and Las Vegas when the NFR was hosted. We also went there. And in January, I visited elders from the eastern part of the Tohono O'odham Nation, where I am from. And during that visit, I got to share who I was, where I came from, and I got to sit down with each elder, and we had like arts and crafts, and we made Valentine cards, and we played bingo. So it was just a great time, just spending quality time with them. And I think they really enjoyed it, just having people come in and speak to them, and especially the youth. They really like when the youth come in.
And you have that chance to visit with them and talk a little bit about winning this title. Tell us a little bit about that process and what made you decide you wanted to try out for Miss Indian Rodeo.
Yeah, so it was a very nerve-wracking process, I would say, but with the support from my family and the nation, I got over some of my fears, especially like public speaking. I think a lot of people get really nervous, and that's one of the things that like holds them back from participating. During the week, there was a total of 3 contestants, including myself. We spent a lot of time together. There was orientation, personal interviews, and they really just want to see like who you are as a person. I think they could really sense your true passion.
And what was the traditional talent that you had to do as well?
My traditional presentation, I spoke about the woman and the kiho, the purpose of a kiho. It's a basket that's carried across our head, and it goes on our back, and we are able to put like pottery, water, and it's kind of a way for us to haul things. So I just talked about the purpose behind that.
Okay, and that was part of the competition to win this title here. Now, you also are a graduate from Arizona State University. Tell us about your educational journey and what you ended up getting your degree in.
Yeah, I graduated in 2018 from Arizona State University in health sciences. So I really want to work in the healthcare field and care for all those that come from the nation. I plan to return back into school after my reign and further my education and hopefully attend medical school in the future.
And so those educational plans are on hold right now because, again, due to the pandemic, your reign has been extended for another year. Tell us what you plan to do in this extra time that you have.
So we're hoping that events and rodeos will start picking up again, and fingers crossed, but just attending as much events as possible, like virtually like this. I think social media plays a big role in connecting all of us. So just continuing forward and giving it all from here on forward.
Now, I understand you're also a runner. Is that helping you stay fit and also sane in this pandemic?
Yes, so I'm a strong believer on maintaining like a healthy mindset, and a lot of mental health issues go on within Indian communities, and just finding an outlet that works best for you. So running has allowed me to maintain a healthy mindset during these difficult times, especially when I was away during college. A lot of us have trouble with like getting homesick and all that stuff. So yes, running has played a great role.
Now, you mentioned that you're O'odham and you grew up on the Tohono O'odham Nation in southern Arizona. What was that like?
Yeah, so I grew up mainly in Tucson, Arizona, but we go back and forth a lot onto the reservation. I grew up in Como Bobby as well. It's it's honestly great being on the res. You know, you get to ride your horses around. It's like a whole different world compared to being in the city. So it's a nice getaway. And yeah, we have family. Just being surrounded by family. It's great.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful to be able to get out and be in the desert and enjoy the area there and to reconnect, even though you live not too far away in the city there. So, when word came out about the pandemic, what was your first reaction when you realized you couldn't travel anymore as Miss Indian Rodeo?
I think it was difficult because you have to think of not yourself but the health of others and understanding that the health of others are definitely more important than traveling for yourself and being out there for the people. But yes, it's still difficult and hearing like how it has negatively like affected some families. It's but we will all get through this together.
Absolutely. And is also that part of your message now when you do go out, I'm guessing through Zoom or some other kind of online platform, when you talk to people as Miss Indian Rodeo, is that part of your message to help them understand this pandemic that we're in and the precautions that you take to keep yourself and your family, your loved ones safe?
Yes, of course. It's definitely eye opening, and everything honestly happens for a reason. The A lot of things that we take for granted, it's like everyone's remembered to not take everything for granted and just spend time with your loved ones and family.
Absolutely. Now, are you getting much time to ride your horse in this pandemic? Are you still actively out there every day, or what's that situation like?
Yeah, we're actively out there. Definitely more quality time spent between me and my horse instead of just being on the road. We're able to be back home. It's been nice, honestly. I enjoy it.
What do you want people to really know about the duties of Miss Indian Rodeo and the representation that you carry when you go out and talk to people?
So, Miss Indian Rodeo is the official ambassador of the Indian National Finals Rodeo and Indian Pro Rodeo, as well as Native American tribes across um, North America and the First Nations of Canada. And through that, we want to encourage everybody to get involved in rodeo, especially the youth. And through this, we like to talk and interact with everybody and anybody, especially like spectators that have questions about the sport or people that never ever heard of INFR. It's always like informing others and just sharing the word, spreading the word about us that we are very much involved in rodeo.
Well, you're definitely going to have a story to tell, having 2 years now as Miss Indian Rodeo there. Uh, you sent us some photos. Do you want to talk specifically about any of those photos right now?
Okay, so on January 30th, I attended the Queen Tashquist Exceptional Rodeo, and during this time, there was various workshops placed across the arena, and elders and youth were able to get a hands-on opportunity to learn more about the sports, like how to throw a rope or how to ride a horse, or learning saddle bronc, like the basic fundamentals. And I was with other people as well, and we were able to share like the learning experience and be able to be there for them if they have any questions and just letting them try something new that they wouldn't have tried. Me and this girl, we were hugging. So that was in Hollywood, Florida at the Bill Osceola Memorial Rodeo. It was one of the tour rodeos that go on as like part of the INFR. And that was one of the rodeos that I actually got to travel outside of state. And I've never been on that side of the country. So it was definitely great seeing another reservation outside of my own.
Well, very good. Well, Orianna Lopez, the 2020 Miss Indian Rodeo, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Your life is precious. I'm Patty Tholhungva. Join us again tomorrow.
You got to take a stand just because you know you can. Oh, you got to run, you got to run.
Indian Country Today is recorded at the Phoenix Indian School Visitor Center in Phoenix, Arizona.
This is Indian Country Today.